night event coming up on Thursday here in Bali, and we're going to get into what that's about pretty soon when we're ready to go over there. And it's phenomenal work from a phenomenal man. So it's a pleasure to have you here, my man, on this special day.
Thank you.
And,
it's not even Monday, right?
No,
this is Tuesday, right?
Tuesday. Speak up Tuesday.
Because when we tape our programs, and we always tape them randomly, and then they like show up 3 months later.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. So I never say Monday or Tuesday because I never know when they actually will air. You have been so persistent. How many Mondays has it been?
It's been 116.
Whoa. And you haven't aged one bit. It's amazing.
Oh, that's in between.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Hi guys, welcome to a special Speak Up Monday. I don't know what to call it. Speak Up Monday, Julien edition. It's on Tuesday, right? So here sits Julien Uhlig.
Yes, close enough. I've heard a lot worse. I can tell you that.
How to butcher us.
I know. It's a hard one, though.
The butcher capital of the world.
I know.
Right, so for those of you who know this handsome guy sitting next to me, so we met, it'll be a few years ago now, at one of those nights at Mikey Moran's place, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it was on Sunset Road, and I was on the panel, and you were in the audience. And this man who had a little bit more weight on him than you do now. Now you're looking buff and fit.
Thanks.
Look at him.
It's the Bali thing. It's the Bali thing.
He's looking buff and fit. But back then, he was a bit more portly, right? For those who know what portly means, it's not fat, but it's not far away. And portly. There you go. He's portly. And so the first time I noticed you was that there was a question that was asked, and then this guy here came with such brutal honesty that you either loved him or you hated him. Me, I loved him. I was like, that guy is good, And then I made it a point to get to know you a little bit after that, and then ever since then we've been kind of following each other around, and we help each other out on each other's shows and support each other wherever we can. Yeah. And I consider you a friend, right? Which is really cool, and I really enjoy that, man. So just want to thank you for that, right? Yeah. And obviously today, or yesterday, or the day before, Julie goes, Rob, we've done this, what we're about to show you tonight, Let's get a spot on the show. And I'm like, well, all the spots are taken, right? However, we can just do one special, especially for you.
I love it. I really love it. I really appreciate that. You know that, right? Even though I'm late and I'm messing with your schedule and your audience, but I do very much appreciate that. Thank you.
I know, man. Yeah. And I really appreciate you. So let's get straight into it. So what is the big news, right? And then we'll go backwards, but tell us the big news.
The big news is, when we very first met in Bali and you called me portly, it kind of stemmed from about 12 years of that point, trying to solve a problem that I would be very happy if somebody else would solve it for us, but I don't see that happening. And that is two things that I started with a long time ago, over a decade in Africa and Ethiopia, and that is to convert waste streams into clean energy. And we live here in Bali, right? We see it every single day. We go to the ocean here during the rainy season. We don't have any waste treatment on the island. So what happens, people dump their waste. I pay somebody to dump the waste from me in the river. I mean, I think we all do ultimately. So, somebody picks it up, it ends up in a landfill, then, you have a big rainstorm, everything ends up in the ocean. Some of it comes back onto our beaches, and the rest is going to be circling the globe for the next decades. And this problem of the ocean waste overall and all this other waste streams, the stuff that burn out here, we get to smell, the stuff that's polluting our groundwaters, that is killing our wildlife, it's just not getting any better. And so we have been at this for the last 15 years, and we thought the best solution to that is to come up with a machine that you can put anywhere in the world, right? That is small enough that you can actually carry it, so even if in the rainy season you don't need a big crane or anything else, something that is portable, movable, that is affordable, so you can actually bring it to places like Indonesia, that's easy to operate, so somebody has a small hotel that's probably not an MIT engineer, actually knows how to run the system, and that then kind of takes all the waste that you find on the beach or that you find in your hotel that you produce, and then converts it very, very efficiently into something you can use every single day, which we thought electricity was a great idea.
Wow. And so maybe for people here, it'd be good to explain the size of it, and then also why was it so difficult to do? Because when we spoke earlier on today, like it blew my mind. What you said, I was like, far out. I never really thought of it like that. But of course, it makes perfect sense, and it'd be great for people here to actually know.
I mean, I think it's a very good question to just think about it. I mean, we're flying to Mars at this point, right? We're doing all this incredible things. It's all technically possible somehow. You know, we all have incredible mobile phones that are super, super smart. So why are we still swimming in our own waste? Right? What is the answer to that question? And, you know, the answer to it is it's actually quite complicated. You know, there's no such thing as just waste. Waste changes all the time depending where you're in the world, time of the day, what you pick up, but you can pre-sort, what has some kind of local market. So waste is not less one thing. It changes all the time. And the challenge that we get with this is that, you know, we have so many different chemical compositions that can come out, which we call emissions. On the best day, we don't have them. But a lot of manufacturers, they build stuff, and obviously they produce more problems than they solve. And the stuff that comes out as emission is so harmful that you might rather want to spill in your own, waste. So it's technically very complicated. And then if you look at a place like Bali, it's a great example. We got 8.5 million people. But that is still not enough to kind of value the investment of a big treatment plant. A big steam turbine treatment plant might be, 500 megawatt or 400 megawatt, definitely more than 10 megawatt. And that already means you need 10,000 kilos per hour. And in that sense, that means you have one truck coming every 20 minutes. So you have to run an entire logistics operations. People have to work. It costs billions to build this kind of thing. So you're in this investment bracket that just simply can't be afforded everywhere. And all the smaller islands don't have anything. So we wanted to build a machine that is so small that you can literally put it right next to your house. So the smallest one we build now, and that's what we're bringing to Bali, and that's kind of what we're celebrating right now, is literally the size of a fridge. The bigger one still fits in a container, so you can take it down with a crane and you have power within the same day. Wow. And these are the things you need to do as we're almost adopting to a consumer market, right? We're like getting waste treatment in the hands of everybody who wants to do something that otherwise would wait for one of these big treatment plants that might take forever.
Yeah, and I mean that's such a powerful thing, just hearing you talk about it and hearing your drive and hearing your passion, right? You're fired up, man. And where does it come from, like that passion, that drive? Because it's been 15 years, right? What's behind this, man? It's a long time. It's a long time.
And you know what? I'm not a person that sticks with things that long. I got a very wandering mind, lots of interests, as you know. So getting stuck with them, it started with me really in Ethiopia. I used to live in New York City, had a very, very different life, decided to do something meaningful. So I went to Ethiopia for the German government. It was my first government job I ever did. And I was really just amazed that there are so many people out there that don't have access to electricity at all. And what they bring in is diesel, right? And then they use that diesel to run very dirty generators that we see in Bali as well. And I thought that made zero sense because diesel is nothing else than carbon, right? It's just highly refined carbon we can use for power generation. But waste, for example, is carbon as well. It has some minerals, some other stuff, but generally it's carbon. So why are we, we bring in carbons like plastic bottles there. We dump them in the rivers. At the same time, we bring diesel. It leaves no value to the people there. It leaves no opportunity there, and it just makes zero sense. It's just inefficient. I'm German, right? I don't like to I don't like inefficient things. We bring in carbon, we bring in more carbon, and then we dump it in the river and we burn the rest. So it makes zero sense to me. So I just thought we can do this better. And I had this opportunity working for the German government that had access to government grants at that point, and that I could actually reach out to my government and say, listen, we should build this portable waste-to-energy generator we can ship to developing countries. I mean, how cool would that be? I know like 4 billion people that would buy it. You can go to every hotel, every airport, every industry. This would be a huge market. And I remember the one guy actually sitting in the audience had a frown over that point. He said all he remembered was portable. And he said, Mr. Uhlig, you just lost the last little bit of your reputation. And my answer was, I didn't know I had one. I mean, I came from New York City. I'm like, I don't know shit about engineering. I just thought it'd be really cool, like, get rid of that stuff, put it in the machine, let it go. We all saw Back to the Future, right? How cool would that be? Right. So that's kind of what me, started at that point. And then, the first few years we did a lot of research, a lot of government programs, invested a lot of money. And then, like, by 2015, we could actually see that it could be done. And not just for a minute, But we built the first machines 2015 that would run for weeks, completely remotely controlled in the backyard of some kind of hotel. But at that point, only with wood waste. So that made the whole thing a little bit easier. We had less bandwidth. But so we know that can be done. And we actually won a big award. We were best of German engineering 2015. Obama and Merkel came to open our first power system. It was really a true awesome experience. Yeah. And then we kind of pushed the limit and said, we want to do real waste. So we went back to the laboratory for the last 3 years, didn't even really tell anybody about it, and see if we can really push that limit. And what now drives me again to bring this thing to market is we've just done our university test, 30 rounds of testing at the university in Zittau. They were all successful. All this costed a lot of money, a lot of patience, which is really not my strong point to get started with. It really, really hurts me. But I mean, I'm just excited about what our technical team has achieved. I thought it was impossible before to build a machine that small and that cheaply that produces such low emissions. It's a real breakthrough. And second of all, I mean, I want to see this working now. I mean, because for the last 15 years, I've been talking about it. If you Google me, I'm like a freaking broken record. I'm talking about the same thing again and again, and now I'm doing it again. I mean, it just took a 3-year break. Because it's so important. And nobody else is doing it. I mean, I don't see the solution here. I mean, we sit in a place where we get confronted with our own waste problem on a daily basis, and it's just not happening. So I guess I need to stop throwing parties for a day or two and bring this thing to global markets.
And we'll get to the parties. We will get to the parties. We have to, right? But here's the thing, right? I know a little bit about your background, obviously. You've been on SpeakuP Monday twice, I think. And, but I think it's really important for people to notice this because it's easy for people to look at you. They see this handsome guy who's just out there doing his thing, right? And, for me, you have this ring of success around you. So what do I mean by that? This ring of success is like whatever this guy does, he succeeds, right? Now, what looks easy is usually hard, and what looks hard can be easy, right? So maybe the people watching here, tell us maybe one of those dark stories, man, but it was really fucking hard, because I know you had it very, very hard. And I love it that people, when they see you walking down the street, know that you're not just a guy who's just had it given to him, because you haven't. Like, you've been through some serious stuff. So at the end of the day, then you get respect. Because then they know, well, this guy, he looks and smells good, but actually this guy has been through shit. And he's come out of it. So you know what? Good on you. Yeah. So share with us one of those stories, man.
I mean, I think actually just looking back, getting into waste to energy and trying to solve a real problem might have been like the dumbest idea I ever had in my life, right? I made a good living before. I didn't have to do any of this thing. I was well paid. My life was in order, and then it kind of started. But I kind of made this my mission, and I almost gave everything for it. I mean, to get a technology started, technology company started already, it's a huge challenge. You need a lot of smart people. It takes a lot of money. We have raised over $150 million at this point, even to get to this place without getting myself paid anything. I mean, this is literally just for smart brains and prototypes. And I mean, I would say some of the roughest moments were we blew up a beautiful prototype before 16 million euros. Al Gore came. We were still funded by Kleiner Perkins back then. And he came to Germany, after his time as vice president. And that machine literally ran for 200 hours. 16 million, 3 years in the making, and then we switched it off. And then it was my job to go back to the investors and say, you know what? Let's do that again. I got a really good feeling about the next one. And they're like, why do you think the next prototype is going to work any better? I said, I can feel it. I can feel it. It's in there. I'm like, I still can't believe I actually did it. I mean, we started naming our failures. There was like an X1 failure, an X5. We now at X. We have done now 5 generations of failures, and now we're really kind of getting there. Now we finally understand how this thing is working, and this is also why we can't quit now, because I don't think anybody ever will be this insane to go through this 15-year period, burning through so much money and blowing up so much shit. nobody will ever do it. So if we don't fix this now and get this thing to market, this will simply not happen. But we have been through all of it. I mean, we have done, we got sued, of course, many times. We did a takeover from a company of Kleiner Perkins back then and other investors. A lot of legal issues. So I think out of that, they sued me 14 times. Then we built the company, actually, finally. And we built 200 power plants before. At that point, my co-founder of my last company, one of the investors, decided that they can do it much better without me. Because as you say, I make things look easy, right? And I don't see any benefit. And even when I teach other entrepreneurs now, I don't see anything good coming from complaining or making things look hard. I think things should look easy. I was a trained musician initially, but I love this musician, but just like, and everything looks easy. Like it just comes naturally. You don't want to be the guy that's like sweating and working hard. That's not me. I try to keep it a little bit more elegant, but literally even my best friends and old investors thought this must be really easy because I looked like I was just, having a blast doing it. So I lost everything about 3 years ago. I did for the last company. I actually personally guaranteed $20 million of our last investment. And so 3 years ago, we got stranded. This is how we ended up in Bali. We got stranded in Bali because on a Friday afternoon, my job was gone. I had zero savings. They blocked all my credit cards. My new wife was pregnant. We were stuck with 2 staff members in a hotel 2 minutes from here. And we were like, what the hell are we going to do now? So I think that was probably, I would say, an absolute low point financially, because I used to be kind of, at least paper rich before, not so much anymore. So we lost everything that we worked for, but at the same time, it was also very liberating. And the last 3 have been amazing. Probably the best years of my life, and I appreciate every moment of it. But I think the challenges, the up and downs, and trying to do something that is so complicated will kind of forge your character. There's nothing easy about it. Nothing we ever do is easy in this thing.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, mate. Like, I love the fact that you shared it. I love the fact that maybe people who don't know you get to know you through that, because that thing, I've got a few friends as well, and things that I do, people, you make it look easy, and people get it wrong. They just think, hey, well, this guy's got it handed to him, and they assume certain things about it which are not even anywhere near remotely true. So I love it when we get to have these sort of conversations where everyone can see we get on really well. There's a good chemistry, always has been, right? But they get to see you saying this, so they really get you a little bit more. I love that. So with this musician streak, it's a great segue, actually. All right, so yeah, is it good?
You're running out of
running out of juice. That's my phone again. Man, I thought it's running out of juice. Maybe it's just not plugged in properly. Have a look. So for those of you who are not running out of juice on your phone, thanks for that. Yeah. So music, maybe just push that close, the close one on the screenage. Yeah, just to see if that does anything to it without getting. Yay, we're back, and we're back over here on this Instagram. Hopefully that will work. So now, pleasure, music, trained musician. So tell us a little bit about that and how that then grew into what you love to do now.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually initially really a trained musician. Like until I was 23, 24, I used to sing opera and musical theater in New York City. An amazing time. I got to say, I love being on stage, but I always felt a little bit, when you're an artist, you don't have any real control over your life. Right? No matter how hard you work, it's incredibly competitive. And I was also getting a little bit tired of the whole opera thing, and my career wasn't taking off as far as I wanted it to. So I had like a chance at like 24. I had a big recital in Carnegie Hall back then in New York, and I said, this is my chance. I'm going to sing my last concert, and this is going to be my retirement. I'm going to retire on top, because I don't want to be there for the way down. So, I retired when I was 24. I love making music, though. So, like, I think a lot about my character. What people don't understand is I'm very, very disciplined in what I do. Like, it's like, learning how to play the piano since you were a small child. I do the same thing every single day. I have this kind of rhythms in my life that keep me going. Especially in Bali, it's hard, right? And a lot of people just floating around, and we still manage 27 government projects simultaneously and do everything else. But over these years when we built N-Trade and Irensis, my last two companies, I had pretty much no time. I had like no social life. I had zero. We were just building this company, 80 hours a week. I was on the plane. I was running 11 country offices. I was, going, what did you call me, portly? I don't even know that word. I was getting portlier and portlier, but every year they were there. Yeah. And so I just didn't take any time for myself. And the one thing, so I went from like being a professional musician to just not being connected with my artistic side at all. Yeah. And I love to entertain, I love to have people come over. I mean, at my own parties I get so excited it takes me 3 days to calm down because I just love it. And in Bali we kind of found the time to restart it, and actually I blame Ichi here behind the camera for the whole thing because he kind of talked me into it. It was the days of COVID.
That's a lie.
Things were getting a little bit, there was just not much going on during COVID, and
it was me, you, and Sasha.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, you, me, and Sasha. We were only three doing anything.
Doing anything during that time, and I was getting bored, to be quite honest. So we started throwing parties again, and I did a little bit what I did back in New York. I put together a band. It was like the Blues Brothers, which I hear now a lot of people don't remember that movie. Which band rehearsal today, I said, "You remember the Blues Brothers?" And I've never heard the Blues. That hurts. Watch the movie. It's a really great movie. But I did what you always do when you kind of get tired and bored. I put together a rock and roll band. Yeah. And probably the best that we have in Indonesia right now. There's some incredible talent out there. We just come from there. And we started throwing parties, like small community events. And it turns out people still love making music. Still people love to dance and sing and build a community. And our community has grown so much. During this time, this week, we're actually the largest, nomad population in the world is in Canggu, Bali. Says nomad list.
Ichi?
We just figured that out.
Whoa.
Ichi again found it.
Yeah.
So, and I think the community now is different. We have gotten, people are building their businesses here. We have a company now here. We're going to stay here long term. This last year has kind of brought us so much closer. And I'm super proud and excited to be kind of like the community hub for that, for everybody that, likes to do and go out and have fun and sing. And it's such an amazing balance. Because what we do on the other side is incredibly complicated. So it makes it easier for me to bear all the technical shit if I at least get to go rock and roll afterwards.
Yeah, and look, coming from clubs, by the way, big shout out to Sasha B.I.G tribe, because we've all been rolling together for some time, and we all support and help each other. So I just want to acknowledge you, brother. If you're watching this, thank you from the both of us, all of us actually, right? Because again, it's always about collaboration, right? At the end of the day, that's what makes us strong, right? And supporting one another, and I love that. So getting back to your parties. So as you know, ran clubs for many years, a lot of years. So even though I don't come to every single one,
you never come, like
right? I acknowledge, right, that when someone is like, we've spoken about this, when you're a master at work, and you are a master at work, it's tricky for people to see, because you make it look easy, for people to see the work that it takes that you don't see, the rehearsals that you don't see, the logistics that you don't see, the stuff that Ichi does with the food and the logistics and staff and all of the things that he has to do. It takes so many moving parts to make this thing work, even have a chance of working, and then you make it look easy and have some spectacular people who come, some incredible performers, local artists, which are as you mentioned, some incredible local artists here in Bali, world-class artists here in Bali. And so, man, it is something which is needed, and I'm glad that you're the guy doing it, mate.
But I think theater always should look easy. I mean, we really create this world of illusion, and there are a few things I miss, obviously, from New York, and the one thing is the shows and the theatrical part, and it should look easy, and it's up to like the kind of the show master to put the whole thing together, that it looks improvised and easy and spontaneous, but rehearsed at the same time. And I honestly don't care if people know how many hours it takes to put it together. It's just, I'm not here to for people to appreciate the work. I'm there for people to appreciate the show. Yeah. And ultimately, I do this for myself because nobody else is going to do it. We don't have real good shows right now in Bali for multiple reasons. So if I have to come back out of retirement and do that as well, I fix the waste problems and the party problems, and Somebody has to do it.
If you got any,
until somebody else does it.
if you got any big problem to fix, right? He just put his hand up, right? You know, one of the beautiful things, maybe for those of you who are in Bali, maybe you know this already. If you're watching, or if you get to watch us from overseas, so Bali right now is in an incredible time. And, you know, one of the reasons that I love Bali right now is that, you know, not so long ago with mass tourism, which there's pros and cons to everything, you know, people didn't necessarily take the time to see one another. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that, you know, there's 3 incubators here that we know of, which is out of Tropical Nomad, by the way. Just a little plug to Tropical Nomad and Ichi, who's another man who's part of this crew of building collaboratively an incredible vision. So Bali's in this place right now where, you know, there's some immense projects which are happening, which I believe will drive some change in the rest of the world. So Bali right now, there isn't that white noise that there was before, for different reasons. So then people, you know, like some people gathered here, Julien, Ichi, myself, Sasha, and, you know, Eric, and there's quite a few others that we could name here, are in this amazing position where we can collaborate on some incredible projects like the one that you're doing now, or 2 of the ones you're doing now. And it's special because then, you know, this place is a special place. Like the fact that you ended up here, you know, after all of that stuff happened, you know, Bali is a place of healing. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the energy of Bali, the island of the gods. It's about healing, and either you feel welcome here or you don't. You either fit here or you don't. But the ones who do, like, they're connected here, and now I believe that now we're connecting more to one another, and that's what events like yours do. That's what the project that you're doing now, you know, is going to huge steps in a really positive, powerful direction, right? And I love that about you and the crew that we have amassed here in Bali. So if you are outside of Bali, you're looking to come to Bali, hit up one of us, not hit one of us, but hit one of us up, right? And we can have a conversation, because again, this is the next incubator capital of the world. Like, you want to be here. Next 15 years, the 3rd largest economy in the world. Like, there's some, you know, Gojek, Decacorn, your one, Decacorn. Like, there's some incredible projects happening. So guys, if you're in business and you want to give up that life of bullshit of being, you know, running into the work, running and dealing with traffic, dealing with offices and each other and all the rest of that, you can work remotely without losing anything, actually, but you just gain. You gain fitness, you gain clarity, you gain some of the best years of your life. So there's a bit of a plug for Bali, guys. So what else comes up for you, man? When I'm saying that stuff, what comes up?
Yeah, it's I said, as you said, we have a totally different perspective on life since we came out here. And that's also, it kind of goes back to our project right now. What we're launching on Thursday is we're actually launching our first crowdfunding campaign. Because we do feel, I've always raised from institutional investors. I mean, that's what I usually do. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this works, because like, in my life, I've always had to, like, really just go out and hammer those investors, and it's a terrible process, right? Because you get a lot of rejection. I mean, that's really much harder than throwing a party. I'm a very good fundraiser. I'm probably one of the best ones in the world in my field, but I still have to talk to 100 people for 3 of them to invest. So you get massive amounts of rejection, and it's just not fun to do, and nobody likes to ask for money. But what we're doing with this technology, man, I think it's in the past, when we worked with institutional investors, the first thing that cut out is the work exactly we're doing in Indonesia. And Indonesia is a tough market because nobody really pays for their waste, but it needs to be done. Somebody has to do it. So the reason I didn't want to go with, like, the classic fundraising route this time is because we need to stay on those markets. I mean, this is really where the impact that we're going for, the vision that we have, the technology changes we can drive. Here we can literally clean shit up. I don't want to be in Germany and work on some kind of, like, government scheme, you know, to just build some machines. It's nice to have, but that's not really why we set out and went through this process for the last 15 years. We want to be at the front lines where the waste comes from, in India, in Southeast Asia, in China. These are the top polluters in the world. I mean, saving your straws and your plastic straws in Germany is not going to help the environment overall. It's nice to have, it might make you feel better, but it's not going to clean up the ocean, because that straw is never going to end up there anyway. Anything we have right now, I can guarantee to you, sooner or later, it's going to end up in the ocean here in Bali. So we're doing it this time different. We try to reach an audience. We try to connect with people, even though what we do is very technical. And I can talk about the technical part for hours, but I won't bore you with that this time. But we try to get the support together. We try to find people that share our passion for it and build this company. Now that we don't have big investors on board anymore, we can build this completely different. And we had the experience last night for the very first time in, 16 years I've been doing this. We'll be launching on a platform called WeFunder, which is an equity crowdfunding platform, so people actually get shares in the company. And like last night, somebody bought shares. And you know what? I don't even know that person. I didn't have to sit down with him and give him like the whole pitch. Obviously, somebody last night just decided, listen, this is actually a good thing. I like what these people are doing. I want to support their cause. I think it's important. And there's so many things out there get funding that I just think are stupid. I mean, I'm German. I'm very opinionated. You know that, right? But there's so much nonsense. And as you said, so much white noise out there and so much just a waste of time. And I don't want to spend whatever I have time limited on this planet just wasting my time on that. So, I mean, I think the time has come to just step forward and get people involved, and people like you that, don't just talk, but actually get things done, get people connected. And, I mean, 8.5 million people in Bali, right? Dumping their waste every single day in the ocean. It's just the beginning. Yeah. But we know 4 billion people who know that and need that technology right now. And I think we can build a massive, community-supported company like you do every single day and make this big without having to make the sacrifices of being, run by an oil company.
Love that. And look, so for people here who may be listening and have heard this for the first time, so how can they contribute? How do they find the platform? What's the address? What's the website?
The company is called, my technology comes called Zero Carbon. So not just me, it's a whole team that's behind it of German engineers and people that really, made this their life's mission to get this thing to market. And it's called Zero Carbon, and it says WeFunder /Zero Carbon is our campaign. You can also just search in there. And we don't just, look for investors. We're really, every person that shares our campaign with somebody else, right, is helpful. We want to build a support network to get this thing really into the market and make a difference. So any share already helps. Any person that can go up there, they can buy into the company. I think it starts at $100 if they want to. Obviously, it's highly appreciated, but get the word out. Right? Finally talk about something useful and meaningful, people talk so much about Big Brother Brazil right now. My wife is Brazilian, right? I'm like, just talk about something helpful for once. So just take the time, share the message with your network. The campaign will start on Thursday. So this is what the party is about. So from 6 to 7, I'll be very serious. And I'm going to lead you through the technology that we bring into market because it's really groundbreaking stuff. I mean, it's 10 times as efficient as a small steam turbine, twice as efficient than what we have currently in the market. You can't hear it, you can't smell it. It's like really a breakthrough. It's not just nice to have. So we're going to walk through that, and then we party.
Got it. And look, I want to get technical just a little bit. So, because it amazed me when you told me earlier on, and it kind of hung with me as well, even though you probably didn't think it did. So, it's a part of the complexity of creating such an invention, they call it an invention, is, you mentioned before that one of the biggest challenges is that, there isn't just one form of waste. And then how do you create something which can deal with any waste, basically, right? And that's, you mentioned the third or fourth generation, fifth generation that spent time doing that. But if you could explain that complexity a little bit like you did earlier on to me, I think they'll find it fascinating as well.
I mean, I still find it fascinating that it actually works, and it still has like this. Every single time I see our machine, that's what I'm missing right now. That's why I'm so excited we're going to have this machine installed next month in Bali. It's already here. It's being commissioned as we speak because it really has this amazing effect. You see the waste come in and you see pretty much nothing coming out. You just see the electricity coming out. A little bit of char you can use as fertilizer. It's the byproduct. But what we do is, what the challenge was, we build like low temperature plasma reactors. Or very hot gasification reactors, whichever side you want to look at. We're kind of in the middle. So we kind of create this bucket overall that creates like a field that is about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, all different things, most things we have are out of carbon, like your jeans, your arm, your ears, it's all carbon. Most of the couch, some minerals in there, but there's a lot of carbon in there. So in this kind of pot, the soup, there's not enough oxygen in there, so it converts into a gas. It pretty much breaks all the different carbon combinations and, the polluting one as well. So our biggest challenge was to stabilize that. It was pretty easy to create it for like a few minutes, and then it would go. So now we kind of have this pot, and you really can see it as like dumping your waste into a pot of lava. Yeah. That is probably, but we create the lava. And that comes with all the material strains, everything else. The machine can be put up, in like 3 to 4 minutes. So it's great for balancing solar. Say you have a cloud, you can actually power it up. But that means we power up from external temperature to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in 3 to 4 minutes. So it has massive material strains. And then the big challenge we have to solve is obviously we also have a lot of minerals that actually turn into glass at like 600, 700 degrees. So if you look at the stuff they're burning out here on the field, the husk, for example, right, the straw, that might be the worst fuel that we have in the world because there's so many minerals. It doesn't really burn, it smolders. And this is not just the water that makes it so, one little pile of waste burning out here, smoking up the entire village. Yeah. And we see this every single day. So we're much, much closer to that experience than most people ever will be because we can smell that every single day. The problem is the minerals, they melt and then they harden, and then you need to get it out. So we had to come up with a way to treat that within the reactor. So we have a very hot process. That means we break every carbon combination, and at the same time we melt all the minerals. And then, of course, everything needs to harden at some point, but be able to get the minerals out, get the ash out, and produce a very high-quality natural gas replacement. So suddenly, your dirty diaper at home, I know you also make a lot of babies like me all the time, your dirty diaper turns into natural gas. But you don't have to pump for it. And then that natural gas is now so clean that we can use it inside a fuel cell, which is what they use on space missions usually to generate electricity. And those fuel cells use a chemical process now to turn that into electrical current. Okay. And so you pretty much don't hear the whole thing. I said you can put it in the back of your yard. It just runs. But it literally turns your dirty diaper into that clean energy. And so we have a big input, variables, and it's different every single day. If you work on food waste, for example, my soup day is hard. Steak day, is like Taco Tuesdays. Every day is different. That's the problem. You never get the same stuff, but you always want to have the same product coming out. Yeah. And there's a technical challenge. And then, it needs to be easy, it needs to be cheap, it needs to be operational. Because, we have had solutions years ago that actually worked. But if you need 2 MIT engineers to sit next to you at your tropical nomad, let's say Ichi wants to have a machine, he can't afford 2 high-level international engineers to run his waste unit. So we need to figure out entire ways how to run them remotely. So we now run them over the internet. Systems all over the world, we run remotely, so you don't really have to touch them. Because you shouldn't, because you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. I don't know either. But, there's so many steps that kind of have to be involved in this technical solutions, and again, then making it affordable and coming to the point where you can actually operate them in India or Indonesia or something else.
Got it. So then 2 questions come up. So the other one was about, which I caught, which is really cool. And you said there are other machines which are trying to do this, but they're not counting the emissions.
Yeah, the emissions are a very, very tough subject, and I run 27 government projects, right? So I can't really announce anything unless it's kind of validated. And to be honest, I don't even trust my own engineers in this field. There's so much bullshit in this industry; is absolutely remarkable. And I've been doing this for a long time, so we don't announce anything that's not validated by a university. Just because you don't measure your emissions doesn't mean they're not there. Strangely, German car makers figured that thing out recently, and got hit for it quite badly. But that's a different story. But the problem is that you have a lot of combinations and a lot of chemical processes that can happen in this very reactive environment. And you just need to test the shit out of it to make sure you're not spewing cancerogenic oil coming out of it. And so, we have other people. I don't want to bash on. I applaud everybody that works into this industry, but a lot of these things, machines that claim to do this kind of things, that are producing kind of oils, they're producing highly cancerogenic toxins that should be landfilled, as toxic waste. So turning your diaper into toxic waste, I'm not sure if that's really a benefit. So what we needed to do, as being German, and so we're funded by the German government mainly at this point. We get about 2 million from the Germans every year to do this R&D. We have to get everything audited, and we need to work with the universities to make sure that we can abide to all these regulations. And some of these regulations are there for a reason, right? You don't want your children to breathe in the NOx and everything else kind of out of this machine. So the emissions is like the silent part reason why we don't see many more machines like this. Because generally, if you just burn it or you have a very rudimentary technology, the emissions is on a level that you just don't want that in your village, or sooner or later someone's going to shut you down.
Got it.
Just because you don't measure it doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, I like that. Just because you don't measure it doesn't mean it's not there. I like that. So the other question is, and you know this one's coming, costs. Now that might be the cost now, or cost maybe at a later date when they become more available. And then the secondary question to that is that you have to plug it in. Like, how does this thing powered, or literally it powers itself? You don't have to plug it into anything.
Yeah, but you do have to plug it in.
Okay.
So it actually starts with electricity you get from the grid. So the first 2 minutes we draw electricity, and then the process actually is self-contained, right? So you use the energy inside the feedstock to run the machine, and then we say it's 5 kilowatt or 50 kilowatt. That's actually the net export after the energy we use for our own process. And cost is obviously the big challenge that we have with this thing. We designed the machine in a way that you can build it just like a car. So you can just simply line them up. We have built hundreds of those before, between 2017 and 19 for wood waste. So we know that we can build hundreds of those. We used to build one a day, and they're really built like cars. And that has dropped already the cost, I would say, by 80 to 90%.
That's huge margin.
Yeah, so that was an absolute breakthrough, because the prototypes used to cost millions, and then for the real machines were in the 100,000. Now the small machines will cost about of a small car. So we're now in that area where if you have the added benefit of being environmentally friendly, and let's say you have a hotel that is very concerned about what's happening with your waste, where it's already working, and then we look obviously then in larger numbers. We do foresee that the market is between 50,000 to 60,000 units per year just to get started. Obviously, the numbers will further drop down.
Got it. And these ones so will be available globally, and are there any each country has, I guess, restrictions on imports and everything else, so how do you navigate and get these things into each country? Is there do they already comply, or is each country a compliance headache?
Each country is a headache overall. So, and then each country likes to change. Sometimes you have subsidy programs for certain technology, then they go away again. So what we're doing right now, this is what this crowdfunding campaign is for. The machine is pretty much ready. We are ready for markets. We know people want to buy it. But for us to put up a pilot, like in Indonesia, always cost me a few €100,000. Yeah. And that first pilot, there you learn how to do the permitting. This is how you learn how to deal with the politicians, how to explain it to local banks. Do you actually buy to all the regulations that are there? You're still building a power plant, right? It's not a toy. Yeah. So you need to go through this process once. Usually afterwards it gets cheaper and gets easier. But that is exactly now the challenge we face. We have now the first round of tests in Japan, Dominican Republic, India. We've already done for Tata, very successfully tests over there. Now comes Indonesia, Germany, obviously. But every country, again, has different regulations. And we need to work our way through that. Or our partners need to work through it. But we need to invest some money and some time to do that. So the money we're raising now is exactly for that kind of expansion, to be able to get at least into the key markets like the US. So we're probably going to build our first system in Houston. We want to be part of the new Biden era and the big investment going to clean technology. I think we can contribute there. Yeah. So we at least want to finish 4 or 5 key markets. Japan is one of them, US is them, and I think we can do that in the next year.
Beautiful, man. What a great future ahead. I know there's some challenges there, but it's what a phenomenal 15 years, man. It keeps resonating in my head. 15 years to work on one thing. Yes. Even though there's other things which are going on, but there's that one thing that remains, right? Far out. It's a long time. And, so we've spoken about the machine, we've spoken about the price, we've spoken about the cost to you, mentally, physically, and all the rest of that. And I'm glad to see that you're getting, you got your health back, you've got a great, beautiful wife, wonderful kid, great family, and, Bali loves you, right? You do a great deal for Bali. And I think that that some people know what you do. I don't think many do, though, right? Just the work you do behind the scenes, and you want people to have a good time. You want people to be comfortable. It takes energy, man. So, like, how do you relax? How do you rejuvenate?
I mean, this is like feels like part-time job, right? Compared to what I used to do. Like my old life used to be crazy. So, I mean, I still feel with working 12 hours a day, I still feel that it's part-time, and I still have lots of time on my hand. I just don't waste time on stupid shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the one thing that, people look at us and say, how can you get so many things done? Is I don't waste time on stupid shit. And that is the benefit also we have in Bali, because staff obviously is a lot cheaper. So everything I do, I either do for pleasure, education, to grow my business, or overall happiness. And so I don't do anything else. Everything else, I don't go shopping, I don't clean, I don't watch TV. I don't do anything that doesn't give me something. And I think that's also something we can do in Bali, because we can have all the other stuff just being taken care of.
Love it, man. Got it, brother. Well, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat to you. And as you know, you get to say the last thing, right, in a moment or so. So anything that maybe is in your mind, or something that maybe you want to say again, or something that just drops in, because we're in Bali, man, stuff just drops in all the time. But to those of you watching here, thank you for watching this special episode of SpeakuP Monday for a great cause, a great friend. And, it's been a pleasure, just to hang out and just do this, just because we said about 12 hours ago, why don't we do this?
But it says a lot about, how we work here, and I think I think we're going to be hopefully like a model for the rest of the world. Because the idea where you kind of sit in your company office and only surrounded by people that kind of work for the same company, are paid to sit next to you, I hope it's going to come to an end, because we both have been there. I've had my corporate jobs, it's just not the future. It's just not, we're just not meant to live that way, and it's so empty. So we sit here together, we all work on totally different projects, we get our own community, we get to do things together, we get to talk about it, and I'm super excited what's coming for Bali. I'm super excited what's going to come for our community once COVID is over. And I'm super excited to get this machine on the ground and finally see it up and running. And I invite you to the opening when the machine is running. And then we're going to make this thing big, and we're going to turn this into a massive company. And then I'm going to retire to Bali. Almost there, but
and whatever we can do to help, whatever you can do to help share this, guys. Ichi Yamada, Tropical Nomad, that guy does so much. So, man, blessings to you. Thank you for doing this. There's a team behind this. It's not just us showing up and just doing this. It takes a lot of work. There's lights, camera, action, lots of things going on. So thank you, my brother, for supporting this community, supporting us. We love you dearly. For those of you, unless you have anything else to say, look forward to seeing you on the next one that will probably be actually on a Monday, as it is called SpeakuP Monday. Just quietly between us. Actually, now we've got Clubhouse on Tuesday morning, and then we've got another SpeakuP Monday, which is like more of a podcast format with someone overseas who can't be here, who can't do this live. So now there's 3 a week.
Catching up quickly.
I knew you were going to say that. He's such a... All right, guys, we're out. Love you. Love Bali. Look forward to seeing you soon. Party launch on Thursday at his place.
Amazing. Thanks, Rob. Cool.